Today we welcome Marc Majeau, Development Officer at Youth Empowerment and Support Services, otherwise known as YESS, Y-E-S-S. Marc will be telling us about the services YESS provides and sharing the initiatives YESS has been working on to streamline and improve their services for youth. Yesterday we held a fundraiser for YESS, and we'll be enjoying highlights of the evening later in the service. Thank you, Janice. Tansei, hello, bonjour. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is a traditional meeting ground and home for many indigenous peoples, including Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, and Inuit. We are meeting this morning on land that was promised to the Papas-Chase people right here in our neighborhood. But that promise was never honored. Our colonial history has imposed trauma on our First Peoples that has affected generations of youth and their families and continues to do so. According to their latest annual report, 46% of young people supported by YESS identify as Indigenous, 46%. Land recognition calls us to acknowledge that we are Treaty 6 people, to remember our responsibility to deepen our understanding of the treaty, to participate in and support the ongoing process of truth, reconciliation, and healing. Welcome to Westwood, whether you are here in person or joining us online through Zoom. We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation supporting each other in our own spiritual journeys. We draw on the wisdom of many religions, humanism, science, and our own conscience, as you can read on the poster outlining our sources on that side. We are guided by the shared principles on the other posters. We are a community open to all races, genders, sexual orientations, ages, abilities, and incomes. We are one of many Unitarian Universalist congregations across the country and the world. We extend a special welcome to anyone who's here for the first time or after being away for a while. To receive information about our upcoming services and events, please sign the guest book at the back and include your email address. You can also sign up to receive the e-newsletter on our website, westwoodunitarian.ca. My name is Rebecca Patterson. My pronouns are she and her. I am your service leader this week, and I'm glad you joined us here today. Our musician today is Janice Reynolds. Our tech team consists of Lorian Kennedy and Mitch, Waldon, and Bill Lee online. Hannah is away ill, so please embrace the philosophy of compassionate imperfection as we navigate the technology without her. David Williamson is our much appreciated coffee host. After the service, we invite all of you to visit over coffee and tea and stay for our second Sunday potluck. There's always lots to share, so please stay whether you brought a pot or not. Next week, we will present the last event in our series, Music for the Spirit. We will be welcoming our very good friend, Gordon Ritchie, who will be taking a new look at Let It Be a Dance, a favorite song from our UU songbook. Gordon gave this presentation last fall at his home congregation, UCE, and by all accounts, we are in for a rare treat. Here are our opening words. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but connected in mystery and miracle to the universe, to this community, and to each other. Please join me in singing Song 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People by Holly Near. And we are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a land of many colors, and we are singing, singing At this time in our service, we pause to reflect on our week. We recall the milestones, the joys, concerns, and sorrows, the changes in our lives, those who need our healing thoughts. Community is deepened by sharing with each other what is in our hearts. For those of us who are online, please raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you. For those in the building, you're invited to come forward and speak, and then light your candle as the next person speaks, or you can light a candle in silence. I'm also happy to bring the microphone to you if you wish. Please join me in the affirmation. Which we probably know by heart. Should we go ahead? May the light of these candles inspire us to use our power to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to serve the Spirit of truth in loving affection and trusting hope. Our offerings of money and volunteer service are the essential elements that sustain our community and this place. Some donate on Sundays, others on a monthly basis. You can also donate to Westwood by e-transfer, and you can get the information on our website. If you missed last night's fundraiser and you would like to make a donation to Yes here today, please use an envelope available in the pocket at the back of some of the chairs. Include a note that your donation is for Yes, and if you write a check, please write it directly to Yes. That makes things much easier for everyone. YESS. Is that all right? Yeah, YESS. And if you visit yes.org, you will find information about donating online and also volunteer opportunities. So we're going to sing again. Okay. We're going to sing There's a River Flowing in My Soul, which starts with the words, there's a river flowing in my soul. In the meantime, I will see what I can do. Let's get started. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. Okay. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me I'm a somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul, in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. Thank you. It's June, and it's Pride Month, thus the rainbows. I'm just about to turn the mic over to Mark, but before I do that, I want to show a video we have seen before, but it feels appropriate to revisit it today. In the most recent annual report from Yes, it was reported that they were able to collect 2S LGBTQIA plus statistics from 241 of the youth they served, which is 35% of all the youth served in 22-23. Of the youth who shared their personal identity information, 36% identified as 2S LGBTQIA plus. So here is a prayer for the queer kids. Maybe I'll tell you about Mark before he comes up. Yeah, so Mark is a development officer at Yes. He's been in that position for a couple of years now, and it's been an exciting time because of the changes he's going to be telling us about. He worked in nonprofit for 5 or 6 years before that, and he's a new dad.
Rebecca, could you tell the people who don't know what YES stands for?
Youth Empowerment and Support Services.
Thank you.
When I Google prayer for queer kids, the first hit is all sin.
Asking God to force repentance for what I call holiness. For what I call holiness.
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 And so I yell. I swear and I rage and I
feel the heat of fury mixed with protection.
I swear, I rage, and I feel the heat of fury mixed with protection.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
That thing they despise, I call sacred.
Sacred.
Sacred. This being oneself.
This being oneself.
In a world that suggests repentance with a tone of holier than thou damnation.
Nope, not here. Not in this house.
Not here. Not in this house.
Not in this house.
There will be no repenting for the courage to love honestly, for the ways your gender beckons you to bloom.
There will be no repenting
for the courage to love honestly.
For the ways your gender beckons you to bloom.
No, this is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for the queer kids.
This is a prayer for queer kids. A ring of fire.
A ring of fire protecting the Eden that exists inside of embodied love.
That exists inside of embodied love.
Protecting the Eden that exists inside of embodied love.
In this house.
In this house, we speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
In this house, we speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
We speak only of the holiness and existing honestly.
In living and loving fully.
In living and loving fully.
In existing honestly, in living and loving fully.
My prayer for queer kids is this.
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 May you find the people who love you fiercely.
May you find the people who love you fiercely.
May the God of grace fill your lungs with life when people leave you gasping through tears.
May you know in your bones that you can never be separated from all that is sacred.
May you know in your bones that you can never be separated from all that is sacred.
Because it exists inside you.
Because it exists inside of you.
It exists in every gesture of love you dare to offer the world.
In every gesture of love you dare to offer the world.
A salve to the soul bruise of anyone who believes they are only somewhat worthy.
A salve to the soul bruise
of anyone who believes they are only somewhat worthy.
An act of holy defiance.
Holy defiance.
Holy defiance.
You, my dear, are glorious.
You, my dear, are glorious.
You, my dear, are glorious.
Just as you are.
Just as you are.
You, my dear, are glorious, just as you are.
Just as you are, now and forever.
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 Now and forever. Amen.
Now and forever. Amen.
Now and forever. Amen.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. As Rebecca mentioned, my name is Marc Majeau, and I'm here on behalf of Youth Empowerment and Support Services. While we get my slideshow up, I want to repeat some of the stuff that Rebecca has already said about me. I've born and raised in Edmonton. I love this community so much. I've been working for Yes for the last couple years, and I've been working in not-for-profit for about the last 5 or 6 years. So I have some experience in seeing where some of the vulnerabilities are in the city, but I think one of the strengths that this community has, and also Edmonton has, is an incredibly strong sense of community. When we talk about Yes, community is a word that pops up quite a bit, and communities like yourself inviting me out this morning and being so kind and being so friendly. Everyone's been so kind to me this morning. Community is going to be a theme of something that I speak about throughout this presentation. So thank you again for having me, and I'm going to chat about, yes, who we are and what we do. As you can see, we are the Youth Empowerment and Support Services. We've been around Edmonton for over 40 years now, and when we were founded, we were the Youth Emergency Shelter Services, but we rebranded about 10 years ago because we realized we're more than just shelter. We're about empowering these youths. It's one thing just to survive, but we really want to encourage our youth to thrive, and we do our best to empower them with various programs. We still do provide shelter, we do provide food, but empowerment is a lot more than just shelter. So I'm going to tell you about, yes, and who we are. Let's hit the next slide, please. So you can see who we serve. We serve youth between the ages of 15 and 24 that are experiencing crisis and housing instability. You can see that in 22-23, we served just under 700 youth. And I know Rebecca did a great job citing our annual report. I'm happy to report we'll have new numbers in like the next 2 weeks. We're just finalizing our new annual report that will have some updated numbers, but I'll let you know that that number, 697, likely up just a touch in 23-24. We provide a range of programs and services that are designed to meet the youth where they're at and support their needs as they transition back into the community. Currently, the age restriction for our 24/7 intake and safe sleeping are due to our licensing agreement with Children and Family Services, which allow us to go up to age 21. So what that means is you can be between 15 and 24 to access our services, but to sleep in one of our shelters, we can keep you up until your 22nd birthday. It's a child services thing. It gets very complicated, but essentially though, I can let you know that if someone shows up below or under our age restrictions, collaboration is something we really pride ourselves in at Yes. We'll make sure a youth finds the help they're supporting. If someone shows up and they're 14 years old, trust me, we don't just slam the door on them and tell them to take a hike. We bring them in, we give them everything they need, and then we work with Children's and Family Services to make sure they're returned somewhere safe to make sure they get the help that they require. Can I get the next slide, please? Our focus is very simple. It's on the prevention and diversion out of homelessness. We focus on healing trauma through relationship, and we also focus on walking beside youth to minimize the barriers to resources. And again, we focus on collaboration. Trauma is something we chat about at Yes constantly. I even heard that word pop up earlier today in chatting about the land acknowledgement. 100% of the youth we see have suffered trauma. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100% of the people in this room have suffered trauma at some point in their lives. And the kids that we serve, their brains haven't completely formed yet. And listen, I tell groups of all ages when I speak to them, we all know how hard it is to be a kid. Now imagine if you didn't know where your next meal was going to come from, if you didn't know where your next shower is going to come from. I know I guess it's been raining the last couple of days, but imagine if you had to walk around in wet socks all day. You wouldn't be very comfortable, right? So those are just a hair of all the issues that all of our youth go through on a day-to-day basis. Can I get the next slide, please? I know everyone here knows what trauma is, but it can really affect your sense of safety, your sense of self, your ability to regulate emotions, and your ability to navigate relationships. It can be really, really tough. Long after the traumatic event occurs, people with trauma can often feel shame, helplessness, powerlessness, and intense fear, and that is no way to live day to day. Next slide, you can see kind of who we serve, some of the difference of the ages. You can see also the gender of what they identify of. What makes Yes different is that we're specifically a youth-only shelter and the closest one in rural Alberta. Most large-scale shelters only take youth up to 18 years of age, and we can take youth up to 21 years old at our shelter to sleep, and 74% of our youth are not involved with child services. So that means they have fallen through the cracks and they haven't got the help that they have required. And again, just to reiterate, one thing that I want everyone to understand is 100% of our youth have and are experiencing trauma. They're in crisis mode and are trying to survive. And often we're the first line of defense when they come see us. Going through de-escalation or going through crisis, they know that there is a safe place for them on White Ave. I should have mentioned, if you're not familiar with Youth Empowerment and Support Services, we are on White Avenue, just off 93rd Street. We've been in that same building for over 40 years. We have the big purple door. You've probably driven past us 100 times if you live near that area. Next slide, please. You can see it was mentioned that 46% of our youth identify as Indigenous, and that's incredibly important during the month of June. We really focus on getting our youth back in touch with their culture if that's something they're interested in. The one thing that we've really learned over the last few years is there is no one-size-fits-all approach to solving this problem. You can't just have a bunch of youth come in and say you have to do X, Y, and Z to get the help, or we're not going to help you. We pride ourselves in giving the youth the help when they need, where they need it, and every single youth is different, and every single youth gets a tailored, program and schedule to make sure they're getting the help they need, and make sure they're not wasting their time on something they're already good at. When they're intaken into Yes, we find out who they are, what they need, and what kind of skills they have. Those three questions allow us to basically kind of work backwards and find out the specific help that they need. We recognize that mental age isn't the same as physical age, so it's very important to address that trauma, as traumatized youth don't know how to communicate their needs. Instead, they just act on it. Behavior is a result of their needs not being met, and that's something that we try to work with at Yes. New direction is something we're really proud to be rolling out in the next couple months. You may have heard in the news that we are giving back 2 of our buildings at Yes. We still have our famous location on White Ave, but over the last couple months, these plans have always been part of our medium-term plan. But our new focus at Yes is addressing on the holistic well-being of young people and a collaborative process amongst agencies to ensure that young people get the help they need when they need it, and more importantly, where they need it. We recognize that our expertise is in providing 24/7 help, so that is intake, triage, stabilization, connections, and safe places to sleep, as well as holistic well-being assessments and outcomes to evaluate those frameworks. We're building in an in-house wellness integration team of psychologists and support practitioners to provide trauma-informed youth crisis and stabilization and mental health education, to support our frontline youth workers in crisis support and post-crisis healing, as well as programming and connections to culture, identity, and spiritual supports for youth. Essentially what that means is, while we're still a 24/7 shelter, we're doubling down on what we do best and focusing on the youth that is coming right in front of us. We're open 24/7 because I think we all realize that bad things, don't always happen when the sun is out. Bad things usually happen when the sun is down and it's late and you're looking for help. So we pride ourselves in giving a place of youth to go. If something happens at 2:30 in the morning, they know they can always come see us. Our team is trained to de-escalate the situation. We have youth that come to our doors where their adrenaline is pumping, they're maybe not in the right frame of mind. Our staff are trained to de-escalate them, get their hormones essentially regulated through conversation. Sometimes they just need food, sometimes they need water. We're trained in our program workers are trained in all of that to make sure that the youth feel safe when they come through our doors. We've also co-founded the Youth Agency Collaboration, and we're helping to bring together more than 30 youth-serving agencies, and growing, I should add, to create a connected and collaborative strategy for youth well-being and the prevention of further chronic symptoms such as homelessness, addiction, and criminal involvement. Transitioning to a 24/7 intake center for youth because crisis can happen anytime, and the youth need a place to stabilize during the day. Consolidating our resource hub, medical clinic, shelter with a single location make it so much easier for the youth to have access to programs, services, and support. Our vision, I think we may have missed a slide. I'm looking for Youth Support Center. Might be up one, that one. So my slideshow got cut off. That's supposed to read Youth Support Center. That is our location on White Ave. Again, that purple door, you've probably driven past it dozens of times and not realizing what is happening at Yes. The 24/7 shelter is often our first point of contact for youth that enter our programs. We have 16 beds there that are safe, secure, and offer an immediate place to stay. The shelter provides basic needs such as food, clothing, showers, laundry, school supplies, packed lunches if you're still attending school or going to work. This is a safe place for all youth to access our support and access to our staff. And obviously June is not just Indigenous History Month, it is Pride Month. We are too SLGBTQIA+ friendly, and that's something we're incredibly proud of. Come as you are, we'll give you the help that you need. Our intake at White Ave, just past that purple door, that includes getting information, seeing what the youth need, seeing what they already have, and kind of building off that. Daytime resources and programs are offered right at that location as well. So if you come 9 to 5 and you're between 15 and 24, we have plenty of programs that can help you get set and back on your way. Some of that resource work includes connecting the youth with mental health resources, housing resources, again, cultural connections, education and training resources, additional services, and maybe services like you and I maybe take for granted, like making sure you get a piece of ID. It's hard to do anything without a piece of ID. Making sure you can pick up mail, have stuff mailed there as well. Legal services, transportation resources like bus passes, and income supports, and more. I mentioned we have de-escalation support for youth in crisis, transition planning and diversion for youth who are already stable, and aftercare for youth who have transitioned. So the next slide is one of my favorite things to talk about, kitchens. Food is something we're really proud of that we do at Yes. You can see her right here. That is my friend Tiffany. She is one of many kitchen workers we have. She is one of many Red Seal chefs that work for Yes. If you're not familiar with that, that means she's won awards for being a very good cook. That's how lucky we are to have Tiffany at Yes. You can see a look at our pantry as well. So last year at our 24/7 crisis stabilization area, we provided over 17,000 meals last year. To put that in perspective, that's essentially Rogers Place. Where the Oilers play, imagine that, but just strictly with meals. That's how many food that our kitchen team provided last year, right? Yes, we focus on providing a safe place for youth, and we teach them that food doesn't always have to be a bargaining tool, and that food is accessible when they are staying with us. There's a story at Yes where a couple years ago, a youth showed up at our doors, was going through a crisis, so our program workers brought her in, destabilized her, figured out what was going on, offered up some snacks, and rather than eating the granola bar right away, she put the granola bars in her pocket because she didn't know when the next time she was going to eat. So she was trying to ration a tiny granola bar for maybe a few days. That's just the life that she was entrenched in. She didn't realize that she has access to all this kind of food. So she was lucky she found Yes. But we try to teach kids that food is not a bargaining tool. Everyone is entitled to food, and when you come to Yes, we'll make sure we get your belly full. We work with partners in the community, such as the Little Potato Company, the Edmonton and Strathcona County food banks are a huge supporter of us. And we also have a couple restaurants in town that provide hot lunch for our youth once a week as well. So collaboration and community are something we're incredibly proud of at Yes. Next slide, please. Our vision. It's very simple. Our vision is a more connected, holistic, and low barrier system for youth in crisis. No one wants to jump through hoops, so we pride ourselves in low barrier and making sure that, again, when a youth shows up to us at their lowest point, we'll make sure we don't judge them. We'll make sure we give them the help they need when they require it. And our vision goes along with our mission. Our mission is to ensure 24/7 access, safe sleeping, compassionate, holistic support within a network of care to ensure the youth get expert help when they need, where they need it, and when they need it. I talked a little bit about the youth agency collaboration. That is, yes, partnering with over 30 organizations in Edmonton. And we see a future where the young people of Edmonton can have a future of their choosing, by having a solid, holistic foundation to build upon. Our collaboration prides itself on having a strong diversity in terms of being intercultural, inclusive, and including youth-serving organizations which work in preventative and crisis services, working with Indigenous partners to include ceremony as a foundational component of our ongoing process. The Youth Agency Collaboration was formed back in 2018 for youth-serving agencies to collaborate and share experiences, information, and improve outcomes for youth. Today, Yes, and more than over 30 youth-serving agencies across Edmonton are a part of the Youth Agency Collaboration, working together to address the barriers that youth face in regards to safer spaces, trained help, holistic well-being, transitional housing that are accessible 24/7 in the communities where they live. The new structure of Yes's Youth Support Center is a key component of the Youth Agency Collaboration, again, offering 24/7 intake, crisis stabilization, and safe sleeping for youth, as well as daytime access for drop-in youth that include medical and mental health services, housing connections, and other resources. Yes's Youth Support Center programs also support entry into the Youth Agency Collaboration continuum of complex care should it be required. That is a lot of talk to say we're making sure the youth are continuing to get the help they need. In fact, we're improving the help they get, and we collaborate so well with other organizations, and I'm really proud to work for an organization that focuses on collaboration so well. So next slide. You can skip that one as well. I just chatted about that. Funding. Everyone wants to know, well, people respect how we do what we do, and they kind of know why we do what we do, but I guess the funding is a big part of how we're able to do what we do. So the next slide, please. We supported just over 700 youth last year, and these are the most recent numbers we have, but trust me, they're going to be updated in the next, I guess, couple weeks or so. But we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for this incredible support we receive from donors and community partners. We receive a large funding of our money from community groups just like yourself. While we do receive government funding from all three levels, federal, provincial, and municipal, that can change, as I'm sure you can imagine, by who's ever in power. So it's up, it's down, it's up and down. It's kind of like an EKG at time. But the one thing that's incredibly consistent is our fundraising goals, numbers that we get from groups like yourself. I remember I showed you my friend Tiffany and some of the kitchen stuff we show earlier. 100% of the food and clothes we provide to our youth are from donations. So that pantry that I showed you, 100% of those donations comes from church groups, comes from school groups, come from businesses wanting to fundraise. It's incredible to see our community coming together and supporting our youth through however many ways they can support, whether that is a hot meal, whether that is providing socks, underwear, items that our youth need on a day-to-day basis. We are nothing without our community, and we're nothing without groups like yourself. Next slide, please. So our numbers at Yes show that it costs roughly $9,700 to support one homeless youth at Yes for 1 year, as opposed to $100,000 to support a homeless adult. Now, why the difference in discrepancies? There's a lot. Sometimes adults have often adjusted to that lifestyle. So they're accessing EMS, AHS, EPS gets involved, whereas the youth, our numbers show that if we could stop this problem earlier it makes it so much easier on the community, taxpayers as well, in the future. Let's stop the problem now before it spirals out of control. Some of our youth will only access one service, but they'll often sometimes utilize all the programs we offer interchangeably. So someone can come in and say, right now I need help with this, but in a couple months I might need to come back and I need help with that. So that is essentially Yes in a nutshell. If you could fire up the last slide, please. We invite you to walk along our youth in our community and on their journeys to help create a healing path through relationships. For more information, you can visit our website, yess.org. Follow us on Instagram if you like social media at yessorg. And again, on behalf of all of us at Yes, I want to thank you again for having me out this morning. I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for also having compassion, especially during the month of June. It's easy, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. So it's easy to forget that there are kids going through a really tough time within our own community. We've all been kids in this room. We know how hard it can be. And the youth we see at Yes are some of the most resilient young spirits I've ever had a pleasure to be around. I'm working for Yes for over 2 years now, and I get energized when I see the work that our program workers do with our youth. They have some of the toughest jobs in the planet. They are the true miracle workers. I get the fun stuff. I get to come and talk to groups like yourself and essentially brag about all the good work that our program workers do while they're the ones on the front lines doing it. So our work is it's not over. It's not close to done, but we're ready for the fight. We're ready to fight for our youth because they deserve all the opportunities that we've had, and they also probably deserve more. They're the future. They're the ones that are going to mold this world moving forward, and we're here to help any way we can. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for the invite, and I'm going to pass things back off to Rebecca, I believe. Cool. Well, thank you so much for listening, everyone. There you go.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Are we able to ask any questions?
I'll do my best to answer, yeah, if you'd like. I should have offered that, I'm sorry. Any questions, anyone? I'll do my best to answer.
Hi. I'm curious, I don't know if it'd be percentage-wise, or can you give a stat maybe? How many of the kids that you're serving are unhoused because of their gender, whatever, like whether they're trans or gay or something? Because I've heard different numbers. I've heard a lot of them are on the street because they've been kicked out of their homes because they're queer.
That's a very good question. I don't have the specific numbers for that, but I do know that is, I'll call it a problem, why some of the youth do come to stay with us. That's why we make sure we're open 24/7, that if something does happen, they certainly have a place to come with us. And that's why we make sure our doors are open to everyone, because not everyone's home is welcoming as this congregation is. Not every home is as welcoming as Yes is. So while I don't have an exact number for that, I can tell you that is something that we certainly face day to day, week to week, month to month. And we just try to make sure that we have our doors open for when they do come to see us, to make sure that we're not going to judge them and you can come as you are and get the help that you require.
Hi, I have 3 questions.
Okay.
How do young people find out about Yes?
Various ways. There's a few ways they find out about us. One is through word of mouth. We've been around for over 40 years. So if you're entrenched in that lifestyle, you might know someone who has already been at Yes or is familiar with our programs. We're right near the Mill Creek Ravine. So we're in kind of a hot spot of activity. So we do get a lot of walk-up traffic. And it's just another reason you can tell we also live in the year 2024. I was once at our building and I heard a youth once say, this place has really good Google reviews. So even ways like social media are a way to kind of spread the word.
Okay, the other question is, how long can somebody stay with Yes?
It kind of varies. So we do have our emergency safe sleep beds. I've seen youth stay with us for months at a time. Some youth only access really for a day or two, a week or two, but we do have longer term stable beds that let them stay with us for a couple months while we work them back out of homelessness.
And the third question, you say from 14 to 24?
Correct.
What happens to the younger kids?
So if someone does show up at our door 15 to 24. So if someone shows up at our door, Then that's when we have to work with Family and Children's Services to make sure they have a safe place to go. Because we're a 24/7 shelter, we simply just can't, for insurance purposes, we can't allow them to stay with us overnight. So that's when we have to tag in Children's Family Services to see if they have a file already created. That is a Children and Family Services, that is their specialty. So we collaborate with them to make sure they have a place to go.
You mean the younger kids cannot stay with you overnight?
Correct.
But the older ones can?
Correct, yes.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the older youth you have, how do you help them to get them on the pathway to stable employment while considering diverse needs that they might have with abilities, like for instance, if they may be neurodiverse?
Yep, that's a very good question as well. So we have lots of trained practitioners and programs that, again, will make sure we kind of work with, I call like a custom program, rather than, again, just a car wash saying do this, this, and this, you'll get a job and you'll be fine. We find out where their strengths are, where maybe their weaknesses are. We connect them with a full-time nurse just to make sure they are getting the medication they require, just make sure their physical and their mental well-being are strong. And it's a collaboration, right? We'll never tether someone off into space and say, here are these skills, go do it and report back. It really is a step-by-step plan that we walk alongside these youth to make sure that they feel comfortable as well. Because I think we've probably all had a job where we've just been thrown to the wolves and saying, here's what you have to do, and there's no training whatsoever, right? So for the older ones that are looking for work, it is a bit more process, but that's where our program workers come in and say, this person requires a lot more of this, so let's give them this right now. And then sometimes that changes, right? Sometimes maybe after a week or so, you might realize I need help doing something else. That's where another conversation will come in to make sure that they get the help that they require.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
So I noticed on your funding slide, 21-22 to 22-23, your fundraising was like up like this and everything else was down like that. What happened there?
So that was coming out of the pandemic. We were still trying to figure out a bunch of, like everyone's numbers kind of dropped during the pandemic hit. So that was more of a recalibration of what we needed to focus on. So our fundraising did remain the same, but just everything got thrown out of whack during COVID. The pandemic, essentially what that was. And we're just now getting back on track, and we'll have more updated numbers that will reflect that in the next coming weeks.
And as a follow-up to that, like, how's your relationship with the current government?
That is a question that is above my payroll, and that's a professional answer. I do think it's an organization that I feel like most people, again, kind of understand and care that kids are a really important thing we should focus on. I know there's a lot more meetings with the executives that I'm not involved in, but I do know for the most part, I believe we're granted a seat at the table when it comes to these conversations. But again, that's always going to be a struggle, because also the government changes quite frequently, right? Our leaders change both at all three levels. So sometimes it takes a stretch just to get more familiar with the new group in power. But I do know it's a struggle that we're always fighting with back and forth.
Okay, thanks.
Those are all very good questions. Anyone else? Does anyone have, one more, yeah?
I listen to CBC all the time, and they have a program at one time when you can give suggestions, and maybe we should mention on CBC we should mention your organization. Yes, I forget what day it is on the program on which you mention things that you want the public to know about.
That'd be very helpful. While we're grateful that I feel like a lot of people have heard about Yes, there's still a lot that haven't. And you never know who's going to need to access programs, right? Whether it's someone in this community, someone maybe you go to school with, you never know who's going to need to access our programs. So awareness is still something we're grateful to have some, but there could always be more. So thank you for that.
Contact CBC Radio 1.
For sure.
I think it's Saturday or Sunday, maybe.
Sure thing.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you for all the questions. And now I think I'll hand it back to Rebecca.
So we're just going to enjoy a little celebration of last night's fundraiser. You'll notice Katie's wonderful decorations around. She put up pop star posters and stars and balloons, and we just have a little retrospective of the karaoke night. Oh, and we raised just over $230. It's going.
I can't believe that you the other day, I asked you on Twitter to send me fake musical genres so that I could make one of them real in the video. The suggestions range everything from jazz for kids to skippy jazz to jazz music. Straight up fake way. But I can put an end to your face. Let me show you a place where you gon' wanna move your feet until they start to bleed. Did you take it away? Tonight is all for you and me, so baby, spin and let the music begin. I know you feel it within, so go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you spin? Don't let the doubt in you win. I know you feel it within. So go ahead and just spin for me. Won't you? I know it's hard for you to give it a try, but you are not alone. I'm here with the same idea can apply to juice weight.
I don't know where that other sound came from, the talking voice, but oh well. So we had a lot of fun. It was a nice evening. And now we're going to sing a response to everything that Marc has said, Answering the Call of Love by Jason Shelton. Please stand in body or in spirit. Just keep playing, just keep playing. We're just getting the music up. keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide. Reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. Nice work, Janice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Never have, never not. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Please stay for coffee and tea and lunch.